Yeah. Everyone, like, so many people were asking me, like, oh, when is the carry session is going to start? So we were all always waiting for you. So
I'm here.
yeah, so Kelly is here. So I'll let you start sharing your screen, please.
Okay, let's see, I'm pulling up there it is. Wow. So it's like the same thing on top of the same thing. I'll move to the next slide. How does that sound?
Excellent. The floor is set for you. Thank you.
Yep, that's me. All right. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. I am so glad that you could join me today. I am so happy to be here, and I'm so happy that you stuck around all day to wait for me. Hopefully, you just waited for me, or hopefully, maybe you're waiting for the session after me. It's going to be a great one. But regardless, here we are in the F&O track, and I just want to say welcome and thank you, everyone, for having me at the session today. All right, so a little bit about me. I am an engagement manager at Alpha Variance Solutions, which is based out of New York City in the United States. I actually live, though, in Louisville, Kentucky. And if you see here that we are home of KFC, so if you are familiar with Kentucky Fried Chicken, that is from where I am from, and also the Kentucky Derby, which is a very famous horse race. So that's just a little bit about me personally and where I'm from, so you kind of have some perspective. Um, I've been working in Dynamics AX and D365 for over 10 years. So I've got quite a bit of experience there. I used to work in manufacturing, and that's why I feel so strongly about servicing assets, equipment, maintenance, and that's why I am here today to talk to you about this topic because it comes up a lot. People say, what should I use? Should I use asset management? Should I use field service? What are my options? And that's what I'm going to get into today with you. All right, let's get back over here. Okay, so a little bit about my company, Alpha Variance Solutions. We are a Dynamics 365 implementation company, and we also implement other modern workplace pieces. So if you want to implement Office 365, Teams, anything Azure, we are your company for that. We are a woman-owned company, and we are a Microsoft Gold partner. So just a little bit about us there. And of course, I am there, and I love working there. And my boss is phenomenal. And we have a presence in India with the Alpha Variance Solutions Strategic Stack group. So, just wanted to let you know that we are a worldwide company, and very excited to be part of that team. All right, now let's get into this asset management versus field service. So, when you say that and you see versus, you think they're like fighting, like you got two people like, "Arr, arr, arr." Who's going to be the best? Who's going to come out on top? And ultimately, I think these are both great. They are both great. They both have their pros, they both have their cons. And so that's what we're going to get into today. We're going to look a little bit at what does asset management offer? What does field service offer? We've got a little bit of both, so I want to make sure that we cover everything that we can in 45 minutes, and we've got some different topics that we're going to cover as they relate to asset management and field service. All right. So, on our agenda today, you can see I've got like four icons here. This is a very exciting PowerPoint. It has a lot of animations built into it. One thing that we are going to discuss is licensing. What are the licensing pieces that are available? The different things that I'm showing today are going to be in USD, so keep that in mind. It's different everywhere, but the licensing options, the way that the licensing works in the background is the same. So I do want to make sure that that's clear. Next, we're going to talk about systems that you've already implemented. What are you currently using? What do you have? Do you use CE? Do you use F&O? Um, will this make the transition a little bit easier or not? Talk a little bit about scheduling. How does scheduling work in this system? Can we create a work order, and how does it get dispatched out to a technician or a maintenance worker? And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about some integration scenarios that are available for you in the asset management and field service space. You may be surprised to know that they may connect. We'll find out. All right, so on my next slide. So when you start talking about your equipment, you might call it many different things. So one thing that I'm going to do right now is talk a little bit about that. So you have assets, hardware, equipment, instruments, and machinery. So you've got these different words for basically all the same thing. And that's what confuses people a lot is they see the word asset and they think, oh, this is fixed assets. No, it's not. This is different. This is basically you've got your hardware, your equipment, your instruments, your machinery, something that requires maintenance. So this is what this is all about. This is about maintaining your equipment. It's not about fixed assets. Fixed assets is totally different, though you can tie to fixed assets, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. All right, so here are the two options that we are talking about today. So we are talking about asset management, which is built into F&O, which means this is basically your maintenance of your internal assets, your internal equipment. If you are a machine shop or if you are a manufacturer, you're going to have equipment, and that equipment will need to be maintained. And that maintenance costs money. Right? So it costs money to maintain equipment. Plus, you have to consider that there's downtime associated with that maintenance. A lot of times, sometimes not. If you can schedule it a certain way, with something else running over here on this piece of equipment. But you need to make sure that you are understanding what needs to happen with your assets or your equipment. You can do preventive and reactive maintenance. And there's also a tie to fixed assets within asset management. So you can tie your asset to a fixed asset, but it does not really do anything except show the accounting team how much we're spending based on the parameters that we've put into the system. So for every work order that you put in, for every fault that you create, for all of these different things that are happening within asset management when you service your equipment, you are creating a record against that asset. That doesn't mean anything for the depreciation books. The depreciation books, they run completely separate from that. However, there is an asset tab on your fixed asset where you can go look at your asset management work orders and how much things have cost to run. In field service is part of the CE or the customer engagement ecosystem. So that is out there in the Power Platform, Power Apps, and all that. Maintenance of customer assets. So if you are a service industry and you need to go out and you need to service your customers' equipment, then field service is more likely what you're going to be using. So you can tie an asset to a customer. So therefore it is getting, you can pull up that customer's account, you can pull up their list of assets, and you can perform that maintenance against that asset. You can schedule service agreements. So you may have a service agreement with a customer to say every 3 months we're going to come out and perform preventive maintenance, which might include changing oil, adding, lubrication to the machinery, just doing a check of it, making sure that everything is working properly. And you can work and schedule that on a recurring basis. So similar to how preventive maintenance is scheduled in asset management. And finally, assets are tied to the customer assets or the customer accounts. Remember, that can't happen in asset management. You cannot have that in F&O. So that is like one thing that is a really big differentiator. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that. All right, so let's go to our next slide here. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about licensing. Got this very exciting slide here. I put a microscope here because it seems like you have to have a microscope to really dig deep into how licensing works in general. I think everybody knows that. I think everybody feels that pain just a little bit. All right, so just jumping right into it. Asset management is part of supply chain management. So if you own supply chain management, you have asset management. And that right there is $180 a month. So that is per user per month. And that is something that is going to also give you all of the supply chain functionality. So sales orders, purchase orders, inventory, you're going to have everything that you need there to handle your supply chain. Now, one other thing that you can add on within supply chain management is D365 guides. And this is something that you can build in. And I've got a link in this presentation a little bit later that will, and I'll share this presentation with everybody. This link shows you how to implement guides into supply chain management to work with your assets. And if you don't know, guides is something that allows you to kind of map out a process. You can use HoloLens and you can see your process flow using guides. So that is $65 per user per month if you were to add that on. Now, there are additional costs that you need to be aware of with asset management. First and foremost is, and this is straight from the D365 licensing guide, July 1, 2021. So this is new. It's been within the last 30 days. This is not new though. This has been forever, but this is from the most current licensing guide that is out there. Make sure that you are aware of this when implementing asset management, but you can only implement 100 assets before you have to pay for more. Now, that amount, they don't put that out there. That's something that you have to talk to Microsoft about. I've heard something like it's $100 per 100 assets. So if you were to have 1,500 assets, be aware that you would need 14 additional asset capacity licenses to meet that requirement of having all of these assets for your tenants. So basically, you just need to keep that in mind. The more assets you have, the more you're going to pay. You get 100 assets with your license included for your supply chain management. Hope that makes sense. When I first found that out, I was a little miffed. I was a little confused. Why? Why? But I guess that's how they pay for it. I don't know. An additional thing that you can pay for, and I know this is so tiny, so I'll kind of dig into that with you, is basically sensor data intelligence add-in. It helps shop floor workers manage machine failures. So basically, anytime something is going to go down, it can send a notification back to the system to generate a work order. So it used to be IoT intelligence scenarios. So it was basically you had something on your system connected to the internet to let you know when there was a failure with the machine or your equipment. And then it would generate a work order, let somebody know that, hey, we need a technician to fix this piece of equipment. So this is additional. You can get certain, so there's special licensing for this. You can get one scenario with 10 machines per tenant per month. You can get 10 machines per tenant per month with sensor data intelligence additional machines. So again, this is extra. This is something you would have to pay for additionally, and it would be based on the number of machines that you are going to be including in your asset management system. So just keep that in mind. The more assets you have, the more expensive it's going to be. The more IoT sensors you'll be using. Again, that is going to add additional cost as well. All right, now field service is a little more straightforward. So field service can be field service can be bought as an additional app to CE. Where you can see here, it's a subsequent qualifying D365 app. This is additional here, $20 per user per month if you have bought something else. So if you have bought customer service, if you have bought sales, if you have bought one of the other CE apps, you can use that. If you are buying it as just field service and you're just running field service all by itself, again, this is in USD, so I do recognize that there are other countries here, but this information is available out on Microsoft's website. You can see here it is $95 per user per month. If you were to get remote assist, which is a lot like guides, but it is something that you can download an app and tie into field service, allows you to connect to somebody else to show them the problem, and they can say, oh yeah, see that screw over there? And they can draw on your screen and point you in the right direction. Then that right there will cost additional $20 per user per month, but you can get that as a standalone app as well for $65 per month. Now, you may think, well, what if I get Remote Assist as my first app and then Field Service as my second app? Microsoft is not going to let you do that because you see how it's cheaper here and then you can add the second one on. I know people are thinking, right? People say that's smart. We're going to make it cheaper. They're not going to let you do that. They're always going to take the most expensive and then add on from there. So just keep that in mind. You are going to always pay for the most expensive and then do the add-ons from there. All right, so let's talk about our systems that are already implemented. And we've talked a little bit about this already. So we've talked a little bit about, and I'm sure you probably have a pretty good idea of where this is going. So we will keep this part quick. All right. F&O. All right, so if you already have F&O implemented and you are looking something for your internal maintenance, that's great. It's going to be asset management, period. As long as you have supply chain management license, that's where you should go. That's what you should be doing. If you need something for customer service of assets equipment and the out of the box service module isn't cutting it, yes, I did say the out of the box service module. And I know that some people might be like, well, what about the out of the box service module? I'm not here to talk about that today. It's not my favorite. Honestly, like I like asset management, I like field service. The F&O service module is pretty basic, but it can work if you have a very basic scenario. So keep that in mind. There is that out of the box F&O, and if that is not cutting it, then you probably need field service. All right, so let's look at our additional scenarios. So here it is CE. If you have CE implemented, or if you don't even have CE, if you have CE and you are looking for a maintenance system for your internal equipment and you have no plans for implementing F&O, go to field service. You can use field service on your internal assets. You just create work orders and you dispatch it to your internal technicians. It's easy. You can do that. That's not an issue. You can use it for internal, you can use it for external. The idea is that you can attach customers to your assets, but you don't need to do that. You can be your own internal customer. You don't even have to have a customer attached to it and it will work. So just FYI, this could be a way to keep track of your maintenance and to handle all of your scheduling within your own internal maintenance department. And honestly, it's a good solution for that as well. And if you have CE and plan to service or repair your customers' equipment, this is a no-brainer. It's going to be field service. I mean, just add that on as an additional app to your CE ecosystem. And yes, then you get field service and you have that. So I know I've talked a lot about field service here, but honestly, asset management is great for one thing, and that is your internal equipment. You're not going to use it to service your customers' equipment. You're just not. And you're not going to buy it standalone, whereas you can buy field service standalone. All right. So there's another line there. So that was pretty quick, like I said. Now we're going to get into scheduling. What does scheduling look like in the system? And this is where things get exciting. This is where I am going to hop into a field service environment. I'm going to hop into an asset management environment, and we are going to look at those scenarios. All right. So in asset management, how does this work? In asset management, you have the power to allow maintenance requests. Those are optional. But let's say you have your production floor and you have your production workers, and they work on a specific machine. They know that machine. The maintenance technicians, they work everywhere. They're not on that machine all day. So they may not know when there's a problem. So your maintenance request is for your production employees or your supervisors. Somebody may say, hey, wow, this machine is really loud today, or this fan broke on this machine. So we need to put in a maintenance request. So what they'll do is they'll go to a computer or an app, and we'll talk a little bit about the app in a couple minutes. But what they'll do is they'll put in a request. Once that request is received by the maintenance department, somebody in the maintenance department will create a work order from that request. They will, well, first of all, they will approve that request. Then they'll create a work order. They'll assign that work order. The technician will get that work order. And a lot of times there might be some verbal communication in there as well. You're going to have an app. You're going to have different ways to communicate this out. But you may say, hey, Bob, we need you to go look at this piece of equipment. That happens, right? So the technician will go, they'll perform the work, and then they'll go in to asset management to the work order, and they will actually mark it complete. They will put how much time they spent on it, any inventory that they may have used. They might have used screws, they might have used a certain tool or something to make that machine work. They might have pulled a fan out of inventory to replace the fan that was broken. And so we need to make sure that we count for that. And that's all handled through project management. So you have projects and you have sub-projects tied to asset management. And that's what it will do is your technician will put in their hours. They will put in any items they used, any expenses that they used, and that will be tied to a project that is in the background of your asset management asset. All right. In field service, you have a couple of options as well for scheduling work orders. So um, initially, you can receive an opportunity. Your opportunity is going to be like the this is where you can create a work order. You can't go to a quote. You can't do it from anywhere else. Kind of makes me crazy. I get why they do it, because they want to keep it separate from how CE works. But you can get an opportunity. On that opportunity, you can add a quote. So basically, you can tell somebody, yeah, this work is going to cost you this much money. Once that customer or that potential customer says, yeah, okay, that seems like something that I want to do, I'm willing to pay this money, you can then convert that work order or convert that opportunity into a work order. Now, these two steps are optional. You don't have to do that. You can go in there, you can just create a new work order on the fly. Let's say somebody calls in, they say, I'm really having trouble. Can you send a technician out? Yeah, sure, we got this. They'll create a new work order and they'll schedule it to the next person that's available, or to maybe somebody who is associated with that account. They might have a couple of different technicians who they're very familiar with. They might say, hey, I want Kelly to come and perform that work. Cool. Kelly will go perform that work. Kelly will go fix that piece of equipment. The technician will perform their work, and then they'll mark it complete in the system, which will then feed back to field service. All right. So other options for creating work orders in the system in asset management, you have maintenance plans, which is your preventive maintenance by asset. So if you want to run a maintenance plan on a specific asset or specific group of assets, you can create those work orders in the background just to say, All right, for all of these types of assets, maybe it's our forklifts. We want to do maintenance every month. So you'll say every month we need to do this set of tasks for our forklifts. And then that's how you perform that. Maintenance rounds are preventive maintenance by location. So you may have a specific area in your manufacturing facility that you want to make sure all the maintenance gets done on the last day of the month. Maybe there's a shutdown and you know that that area is always going to be available on the last day of the month for preventive maintenance. So you schedule all of these different preventive maintenance tasks. And what you do is you hit a button and it will schedule all of those work orders by that location. Now, in field service, you have the option of service agreements. We talked a little bit about that earlier, where you set something up with your customer. Perhaps they have a piece of equipment and you're talking about every 3 months you want to make sure that it is getting lubricated, getting new oil, making sure that all the screws are screwed in tight, just doing a once over, making sure there's no damage to it. You can set that up and you can have that generating work orders as well. All right, so mobile, and I'm gonna show you guys the mobile app too. It's pretty cool. Field Service has its own mobile application. It is like Field Service Mini. It is great. It is beautiful. Um, Asset Management uses a Workspace on the Finance and Operations app. So let's show you what that looks like. Well, okay, so I knew that was going to happen. That always happens, doesn't it? All right, so here I am. I'm in a Contoso demo environment. You know that up here under settings, you have the option for mobile app. And in case you were ever wondering what that is from that last screen I showed you, that finance and operations app in the system. So I'm going to go to mobile app and you can see all of the different mobile workspaces that are available to you on this app. For example, let's just say inventory on hand right here. I'm going to publish that. The only reason I am publishing that is because my asset management one right here has already been published. So I want to make sure that everybody understands, that's just how you do it. That's how you get that to show up in your app. Now, give me just a second here to get my app ready. I'm going to mirror to my screen here. All right, so let me drag this over to my screen that I'm presenting on. Woo-woo. Here you go. You are looking at my phone live right now. I am looking at this phone. Watch, scroll back and forth. That's it. You are watching me on my mobile device. So you can see here that I have a finance and operations app. That is where I'm going to go. All right, so you see I'm in the asset management app. You see it is tied to me, my user. That's me. If I exit out of that, you'll see I have the asset management workspace. If I pull down to refresh, what it's going to do is it is going to log me in and it is going to refresh my screen. You can see now that I have my inventory on hand app that is published within here. It's pretty cool, right? So what this is just mobile workspaces within the system that you can use. So if I go back to my asset management, you can see that I've got my active functional locations. You can see I have my active maintenance assets. These are things that are specifically tied to me as a worker. Now, I'm going to scroll down a little bit and I'm going to go to my work order jobs calendar. And you see, I don't have anything scheduled for today, but I think I have something scheduled for Monday. I do. You can see here that I have a work order scheduled on my calendar. I can go to my work order jobs list. So let me see, I'll go back just so I could show you where I was at since you don't really see. So it's my work order jobs list and there was my work order jobs calendar that I went to. So I'm going to go to this one right here because you don't see me pressing that with my finger. And you can see here that I have a work order that I need to go into and work from. So you see I have the option here to have attachments. I can add attachments. I can look at attachments. For example, if somebody attached something when they submitted the work order or that work request, I can have checklists. I don't think I have a checklist on this one. But if I did, basically it would go through one by one, step by step. What do I need to do in order to maintain this item? For example, one thing that you're doing when you want to work on an item, and this is very important from a safety aspect, is you want to turn off the power before you start working on a piece of equipment. Almost always, there are very few exceptions that you will want something running while you are actively working on it, because that is dangerous and you will hurt yourself. So you may have something in there that says, I have turned off the power, and you would click yes. So therefore, somebody can come back later if you did not turn off the power and say, it says here you said you turned off the power. Did you not? Did you tell the truth? Did you lie? Anyway, so you can see here the different asset that you're working on, what location it is in, what trade, when we're expected to start. So it looks like I'm starting that at 3 in the morning, who it's scheduled to, if there are any required tools, etc. So I love, 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 love the asset management workspace. I think it's great. I like that my picture shows up on it. I think that it's a pretty cool tool. All right, so I'm closing that. That was the Finance and Operations Workspace app. It only has like 2 stars in the App Store. Just ignore that. I don't know why people hate it so much, but I don't think it's a bad thing. So ignore the fact that it has 2 stars. All right. Next, we have our field service app. Now, I'm going to go out here. I'm not going to talk anymore about that at the moment. I'm going to actually minimize that. I'm going to go back in here, talk a little bit more about asset management before we jump into field service and what that looks like. All right, so asset management is here as a module, and you can see that, as always, with a module, you have all of your different sections. You have everything where you can expand, you can collapse, and get into those. There are some workspaces as well, such as the work order management workspace, where you can see all of the work orders that are out there pending, scheduled, who they're scheduled to, etc. You can see all of your tiles on the side, any analytics that might be tied to that. I don't have that on, so we're not going to show that. You also have a maintenance request management workspace that is tied. So this is for those maintenance requests that I was talking about. This is a great workspace for your end users to be able to submit a request. So basically they're saying, hey, I've got a problem. I need to create a maintenance request. So based on their permission level, they'll see that plus sign there, and they can do it from a mobile device. They can do it from a PC. They can go in and they can say, hey, I need to create this work request, right? And they'll go through, they'll fill it out, and then it will show up in this list. A maintenance manager will turn it into a work order, and then they'll schedule that work order. So what that looks like to schedule a work order is you have a couple of different options. You have up here, you can go to an item, for example, this one. I have the option to schedule it using basically a smart system in the background. You have the option to set different parameters based on your workers, their skill levels, how long you expect something to take, and I mean, just all these different things. And you can go in and say, okay, I want to schedule this based on all those different parameters I put, pick the best worker for me and schedule it for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this and we're going to see who it schedules. Hopefully it's me. It will run. You'll see. There we go. Schedule work orders. Oh, did not get anything because, oh no, it does say it's scheduled. I thought it said it didn't. Okay, yeah, look, it scheduled it to me. Great. That's exactly what I expected. Good. I like it when it works. If I were to go into the app, I would see that I have 2 orders now scheduled. This one will be about an hour after my other one. So it will be, because you see this one based on time zones, I guess this is a little bit different here in my demo data, but you'll see this one's scheduled at 7, this one's scheduled at 8. So if I were to go back into my mobile device here, click on that, go look at my work order jobs list, refresh it, then you'll see I now have 2 orders scheduled for me. So it's pretty slick. You can also, if you need to schedule something much quicker and you know exactly who you want it to go to, you can click this dispatch button. Oops, I can't do that one because it's already scheduled. Yeah, that makes sense. I can schedule this. I can put in a certain amount of hours. I can say 3 hours. I can choose to ignore their work schedule. I can pick the worker. So for this, I'm picking me. And I'm going to click OK. And you'll see that that also is an effective way to manually schedule work. So you can say, hey, Kelly, I know this is urgent. I need you to work on this now. So then that's a good way to schedule it. Okay, let's go jump over to field service. You see, we're in field service now. This is what field service looks like in case you've never seen field service. The field service dashboard allows you to see what type of incidents that you've got scheduled this month. So what kind of work orders are out there? You can see I've got one called Install IoT, another one called Replace Broken Part, another one called Replace Core Part. Now, if I go out to my work orders, you'll see that I have 3 work orders. You'll see here that these are the service accounts tied to them. So I've got a winery, a school, and a pharma fabrication location. You can see the work order type is install or replace. You can see I've got install IoT, replace core part, or replace broken part. I can replace or create a new one on the fly here. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to click this plus button. And I'm going to go down to work order. And you'll see that it pops up a new screen on the side. So very similar to how F&O works. I'll type in my work order summary, which is basically just a text field, a free text field of what I want to do. Fix the part. Now this is where you can find your service account. Easy peasy, you just hit enter and it will pull up your list of customers. I'm going to go to the ski house. You'll see that it pulls up the billing account as well. I can pick an incident type. An incident type is a template. It will have specific parts and specific times associated to it to say, this is how long we expect this to work. So you might say, okay, power fluctuation, it's going to take 2 hours. It's a diagnosis and repair work type, and it's unscheduled. So I'm going to click save and close, and that is going to add to my list out here. All right, so it's saving. You'll see I now have the ski house. It is listed as open unscheduled. I can go to my schedule board. And I know I'm running really tight on time. I'm going to show this part really quick. And then I am going to jump over to the last piece and just kind of run through that so that way you guys understand everything that's happening. All right, so I'm going to search for my resources. I'm going to search for me, Kelly. There I am. You can see here that I'm listed as traveling on this one. So booking status traveling, I need to probably change that status. I'm going to change it to in progress because I'm working on this right now. And you can see it changed to green. This blue one, the next one, 2.5 hours, is scheduled. Then you see I've got this blue line out here. What that's telling me is that I have to schedule that much time to get to this work order. It's saying I need 17 hours. What it's recognizing is that I am in Kentucky and that is in Washington. So it is giving me time to travel there to say, okay, you are too far from that one. You need to get that scheduled or you need to get that done. Now I'm going to go down here at the bottom and you'll see I have something called unscheduled work orders. I can actually take this Alpine ski house and I can drag and drop it up here and it will put it on my calendar. It will change the status of my work order. Uh-oh, That one wants me to travel as well. It looks like, oh my goodness, I've got a lot of stuff going on there. But it's going to put it where I have some open time. So if I go back out to the work orders, you'll see that it is now listed as open scheduled. And you should be able to see that it's tied to me. But what we're going to do is pull my mobile device back up, and I'm going to show you how the app works. All right, so I stopped sharing, so we need to get back into that. Oops, can't do it anymore. I guess I only get like I only get 10 minutes per hour. It's free or something like that. So I guess I wasted my 10 minutes on that already. But basically, the mobile app looks just like this, okay? It is like this in mini version. You have this little hamburger bar on the side, which pulls all of this up. It will show you your active bookings, which are everything you're scheduled to. And you can go into those bookings and you can mark, I'm traveling. This is in progress. This is complete, just like I did from the schedule board. So you can do all of that within the mobile app as well. So I apologize that I wasn't able to show you that mobile app. It is pretty slick. It is very nice. I guess I left the thing on too long because I only get so many minutes per hour. So let's hop back into my presentation. Let's talk about our integration scenarios real quick. Oh, and I know I have a picture here too. So this is what the field service app looks like. And there's your asset management app. So if you want to see the two, that's what they look like. I am going to, hi Faisal, I must be behind. Oh, he was there. No, he's not. So he's checking on me. He's checking where I'm at. I must be behind. I need a couple more minutes.
No problem.
Okay. I'm close. I'm so close. All right. So we're talking about the field service app and the asset management app. Now we're going to talk a little bit about integration scenarios. All right. So something to consider. There is a path for dual right between asset management and field service. And in the presentation, I have a link down here and it shows that it's there. See how it's like kind of lighting up? I don't know why it's not showing. It's not showing when I present, but it is there. So when I share the slide deck, you can get a link to see that there is dual right between asset management and field service. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of integrating your F&O asset management to field service. And so I've done this before. It's there are positives, there are negatives. So let's talk a little bit through those. So the pros. So first we'll go with the positives because I always like the positives. Positives make me happy and I'm a happy person. So all of our pros, you can maintain all of your assets in one location and sync the data seamlessly. So you can create an asset always in one system and have it flow through to the other system. You can have it created in both systems. You can have it updating both systems. So keep that in mind. If you want to have maintain one as the primary and the other one as the secondary, then you can have it flow one way through dual right, or you can have it working both ways. Same thing with your functional locations. You can maintain those in two systems, or you can just maintain them in one. I think it's a little easier personally to maintain them in one system. And a lot of times that might be F&O. Now, if you're maintaining it at a customer level, you'll have to do it in field service. You can manage your internal and external assets in one location using Dataverse to pass through to the other system. You can maintain consistent asset lifecycle models between the systems. So you don't allow somebody to just create one off the fly and say, yeah, we're going to disable this piece of equipment and call it disabled. No, you're not going to do that. And you can provide manufacturer, model, and warranty data between the systems as well. And that is all maintained on the asset level. So your cons, you cannot tie an asset in F&O to a customer. So that's kind of what we've been talking about all along, is that's where field service is strong and that's where F&O is weak. So maintaining this data will always have to occur in field service. Kind of stinks. Functional locations are not as robust in field service, except tying to the customer. But when you try to create them, there is something in the background in F&O that will always throw an error if you do not have it set up properly. It will throw an error in field service if you do not have it set up properly in the first place in F&O, which is basic parameter setup of when I'm creating an asset or a functional location, it has to be of the active state. If you do not have that turned on, everything will blow up every time. Keep that in mind. Work orders, they aren't passed between the system as work orders. And honestly, there's nothing in dual right for work orders at this point in time. You have to use data integrator, which is my next one. But those work orders will pass through to F&O as sales orders that you can then invoice to your customers, which is kind of cool. I like that. I like that a lot. And you can tie a product to an asset in field service, but you can't tie it to an asset in F&O. So if something were tied to a product, like if you said this product is tied to this asset, you can do that in field service. It's great. You've got all of that information there. You can tie it together, but you cannot do that in F&O asset management. So unless you create something in the background or create a link to a product somehow. So those are your pros and your cons. Here's a little bit about how the data integrator works. You can see between field service and finance and operations, you do have data going back and forth. Now, this is different from dual write. So you have to keep in mind this is a separate system where you can have information flowing between the two systems. So you can see that your work orders become sales orders that you can then invoice. Your invoice can then go back to field service as an invoice. You can create service agreement invoices as well that will come through to F&O as a free text invoice. So that's really cool. This is straight from Microsoft Docs. If you ever need to find it, it's out there. Also using data integrator, we have those agreement invoices we talked about, inventory transfers, inventory adjustments, inventory on hand. So you can pass information from F&O to field service, products with inventory unit, and warehouse information. Also projects. There's a lot going on with projects right now using the project operations. I don't know what how that ties into field service just yet. Still have to do a little bit of work on that, understanding it. I've been busy transitioning jobs, doing a lot of different things in my life the past couple months, so I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to that. But we do have data integrator for projects that we can use, and I know that there's some stuff coming down the pipe with project operations. I know they can use the same scheduling board, that same scheduling resource piece. So there's options. There are options out. Additional integration scenarios. Oh, let's go back. One more. Oh, I clicked too soon. You have guides that we talked a little bit about before, and you have report assist. You can also put guides into field service. So here are some links that will be in this presentation that you can access once I share this out with the Pakistan user group. All right. And so just in summary, I'll just show this screen. Let's let it kind of populate here. There's our summary. Asset management's built into F&O. Field service is built into CE. Talk a little bit about licensing. They have their mobile apps. So there you go. That's it. That's all I've got for you today. So thank you. I appreciate you coming to my session. I know I ran over a little bit, but I don't think I ran over too long. So hopefully we still have a little bit of time for the next people to get in, which I think are my friends Adria and Juan from Spain. So you'll have to talk to them about, what is it, Git for Finance and Operation Apps. Why can't we be friends? Definitely sit in on that
Yes.
session. It's going to be entertaining.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm still waiting for them. So thank you so much for your time, Kelly. It was great to have you. So insightful session.
Mhm.
So again, it's pleasure to have you. So with this one, I'll quickly hand over to the next speakers. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Were there any questions?
Now I don't see any questions in a chat window.
Okay, cool.
But there is a lots of appreciations, lots of love for you,
Oh,
and
great.
yeah, lots of kind words for you. Well explained. Uh, so many people have learned about asset management and field services today. So it's a great topic. I know it's a very big topic to cover in a very short time,
Yeah.
but yeah. So but it's really good. It's a lots of love from Pakistan for you and lots of good words. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys have been great. Thank you so much for having me. This is a very well organized event, and I really appreciate everything that you've done. It's been
Thank you
awesome.
so. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you, Faisal.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.